1 second.
Open up and.
Okay, sorry. That was as good as I got, too. It's all yours, Mark.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call a meeting for September 23rd, 2019, Planning Commission for Eddystone Borough. Tonight we have Alliance here, and is there anybody else beside Alliance? All right, anything for public forum? Nothing? All right, Adam?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, Adam Atwell, on behalf of Alliance. Max, Ryan, who you know from Alliance. We have our engineer Christos and our traffic consultant Mark here again. And I can tell you that since we've last were with you, we've been active and had a couple very, very good meetings with your township professionals and discussed some alternate layout of the buildings as well as access issues. And we are about ready to resubmit I think you may, do they have drafts of these or no? I guess not.
Yeah, drafts of the site plan, yes.
Yeah, the site plan, right. Yeah, we have not formally resubmitted yet, but we're about to do that, but we wanted to get in front of you folks, trying to keep momentum going.
Can you stand on the other side of that?
Sure I can. So what, and I'm going to ask Christos to go through it with you, but basically what we've done is move the buildings a little bit and provided for the possibility of a second access to the property, and in an attempt to meet the concerns of, it's some that were raised here and some that we've had through talking to the professionals, and we think the revised plan goes a long way toward meeting the needs of both us and the borough. So did you want to just sort of walk the folks through what we did here?
So,
and I think maybe you get on the other side so I don't get yelled at again.
so this.
Any way you can get a shot of that? So
Yeah.
even if you have to come up this way, just to face us while he's speaking, if you don't mind.
So this plane here was the original plane. You can see the buildings basically running perpendicular to the river. We had still one point of access off of Second Avenue into the site, and so just wanted to orient you from where we were previously at. So as Adam mentioned, productive conversations with township staff on providing 2 access points into the site. Still the main access off Seville into the site, and now we're looking at essentially a roadway, if you will, that runs along parallel with the property line to the north and connects into the adjacent property to the east. And we have another plan that Mark can speak to that really shows that connection running all the way through. But essentially rotated the buildings 90 degrees, and what this allows us to do is to really provide 2 separate points of access into the development. And really the challenge that we had here was, on the original plan we had enough access or stacking interior to our site to accommodate all the vehicles and truck traffic that we had. Now that we're providing this driveway to connect really Seville all the way through to Industrial Boulevard, really some challenges in terms of access and stacking and queuing the trucks into our portion of the development. We're essentially creating a new roadway and really a new sort of layout to accommodate that. So really what we're looking at here is this access that would come into this parking field here to the west would be just for passenger vehicles. So we wouldn't be mixing the passenger vehicles with the truck vehicles. So passenger vehicles would come through here. You have your main parking field, envisioning the access to the buildings on these sides here as well. And then like I said, truck traffic would come in from the eastern access point that you see up top here. And there's the ability to really queue and stack all the trucks along this eastern property line before they get into these buildings. So you can see here you have about 350 feet or so of stacking, and you can really have double lanes there as well for both of these buildings. Then really a driveway to the rear, and you can see here another bay of really truck parking spaces or storage spaces, as well as some overflow passenger vehicle spaces. And then what you see here is what would be a fire access. So this access wouldn't be used regularly. This would just be for emergency situations if an emergency vehicle or fire truck needed to get full circulation around the building. So really the advantage of this plan is that we're really providing separate access points for the trucks and for the passenger vehicles. They don't really have to intermingle as they gain access to the site. And really for future use, for the marina that I know the borough has envisioned down in this area here, separate access. They would use the same access as the passenger vehicles, with the ability to eventually make a driveway and connection out through here.
Would there be any curbs on that road right there?
For the future road,
No, coming in off of the main.
everything would be curbed.
Okay.
So that's really the layout in a nutshell.
Going back to the original plan, what was the feet from Seville at your entrance to the building, that main entrance right there?
So right here we had about 600 feet or so.
It's about the same right now.
Well, we have, correct, we'll have 2 lanes coming in,
Right.
each of them about 300 feet. So you kind of separate for each building use in
You're
here.
talking about from Seville, right?
Yes.
From Seville, it'd be about the same, 600 feet.
Right.
To the corner of that upper building.
But
So
we're gonna bring the trucks in.
So that's what I
on the
wanted to
far
know.
side,
Once
so-
you come in off that far side, how much footage is, yes, right there.
Yeah, so again, you have about 350 feet or so,
Okay.
on this side.
And that's what we were saying by doubling it. So how are you getting the trucks out of here?
They would
You
go
have
out
the
the,
du- So if you had 600 feet over there, you're doubling them on this side, how are we getting the trucks out?
trucks would still come in, queue in here. They'd have the ability to get into whatever loading space they need, and then they would really come out the same way. So this is about a 40-foot drive aisle. So you'd have 2 lanes coming in and 1 lane exit.
Gotcha, okay.
With the intent for them to all still go through the adjacent property out towards industrial.
I gotta compliment you, somebody really did their homework on this. I mean, I think it's a much better plan than the original plan. Now, my other question is, how confident are you that the truck traffic, if you're gonna have that access road going out to
Well,
291?
that's the biggest question is whether or not we will be able to get that easement from the adjacent property.
I think if I could,
Because right now, this is like the perfect plan if you have that truck traffic access road.
what I think we tried to arrive at was the most perfect plan we could with the things that we control. So, this is a plan that would work better if that connection became available.
Right.
It's not something that we have control over, maybe others can influence that, but that it works really well for our site. We gave up a little square footage. There's some downsides to this plan that made it a little more challenging and less lucrative to a developer, but it worked for all the reasons that we were pressed to study, so we were happy to make those changes.
We lost about 6,000 square feet or so of warehouse
building.
space. Still compliant from every other zoning aspect.
I mean, are you actively trying to get this access road from 291?
I believe-
Because I know there was an issue with the railroad crossing and all kinds of
Yeah.
headaches.
We don't believe that we're able to do the shorter railroad crossing, but we've had discussions with the borough, and I know that they have had discussions with the neighboring property owner, and the idea is ultimately to try to get that access across. We believe that this has been designed so that even if we don't get the access, it's a better plan because it's gonna pull more traffic in off.
You're taking off the pressure off of Seville.
Right, I mean, they can do their stacking here.
Yeah.
But you know, we're hopeful and we're committed to participating in obtaining that easement to the extent that we can, or those rights. And we'll continue to talk to the borough about it. I think if you talk to the borough council, they will tell you that they're interested in very interested in trying to get that property, and we're gonna try to figure out a way to do it. What we're asking the borough for, and I think the professionals were in line with this, but is to allow us to go forward with this, with the commitment that we will participate in getting that additional, roadway when everybody's in line, but, to allow us to go forward with it, with just the one entrance, if that's all we can start with, but, we're committed to participating.
Yeah, and last thing is I would say, in order to move forward, we decided to come up with a plan that physically fixed everything we could fix. And then, we don't know a number yet, make a financial contribution to monetize a problem we can't yet solve, but have a little war chest towards the solution when it becomes clear to Eddystone. So, for example, if that connection were to go through, it not only would redirect most of our traffic, but it could resolve some of Penn's. You end up with Penn terminals. You could end up with like a through road, which is essentially us building a public road right there. So it could be a truly improvement, not just avoiding us adding a burden, but an improvement on what's there today.
Can you bring that up?
And if it doesn't,
I think the borough needs to actively try to pursue this, because trying to bring that volume of traffic in off of Second and Seville is gonna be, because that intersection's just not made for trucks to be turning there.
but if we
Unless
make a
that
financial,
intersection opened up.
if we make a financial contribution on top of this, and that money is held by the borough, and if the through road connection can be made, and that money can go towards some of those improvements,
Right.
that's a good start. And if it ultimately falls apart, it can be used towards the current
Fixing that
access
intersection up.
to make it better. It seems like a prudent way to say, all right, it's gonna take a while to solve this. In the meantime, it's gonna take you all, a year and a half to get this built. You can get going while we work on which of those two solutions we wanna make for the property. That was the goal.
And we're pledged to work with you.
I mean, and you're actively pursuing trying to get this other entrance, right, from 291 there,
What?
in conjunction with the borough, right?
Yeah, we're not directly dealing with the neighbor.
Yeah, so Bob, I know you might have missed one meeting, but, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you remember this. Alliance did meet with Foxfield, and they tried to personally negotiate a number for that piece of land.
The roadway.
Yes,
Okay.
and it was just, from my understanding, there was no compromise on being able to be reached for that piece of property. So what Alliance is saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that they're asking us to possibly, I guess would they get an escrow account? Would that be correct? Or how would that work as far as allotting the money?
You're believing that the planning commission or the borough?
No,
would-
the Borough, if Alliance was, they're saying a lot of money towards the either A, potentially having, I guess, enforcement if we had to on Seville, or if the project moved forward, allotting that money towards developing this road if Foxfield is not participating in funding.
What we're asking for is, and this would come out of our final approval for Borough Council, but for the plan to be approved, basically is shown here, and, with the, understanding and some mechanism that we would figure out some cost of our monetary contribution toward the ability to obtain and build this road. And that money would be escrowed or provided for, bonded or somehow.
So I think that there's a possibility that maybe there'll be litigation, and that will be the borough's litigation, but so then Alliance would perhaps contribute to that, and those funds would be used for that purpose.
Right, if, for instance, if it was decided there had to be a taking.
Right.
If they decided to be condemned, then somebody has to pay for that, blah, 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 and we would contribute toward that.
So at this time, to get back to Bob's original question is, Alliance basically did their part when trying to negotiate and did not work, and they're asking that the borough now, if we as the planning commission and the borough of Eddystone want that piece and want that entrance, they're saying they did their part, and they're asking for the assistance of the borough now.
Yeah, I would say our contribution is
Yes.
we gave up, there's some give on our site that this becomes public. We potentially are taking on Penn Terminal's traffic through our site.
Yes, just to get back, just to throw you right there, 6,000 feet, or 6,000 square footage. Could you tell me what that property that we're trying to ascertain from Foxfield, how much square footage that is, or you can't tell right away from looking at that?
Square footage of the roadway.
What specifically, the square foot of the right of way?
You guys gave up 6,000 square footage, so between,
Well, even more than that. Jim.
More than that,
Because
that's just the building.
Remember, that's just how much building we're giving up, plus we're agreeing to, when this is all said and done, we're gonna dedicate this as a public roadway,
Or
which comes
easement.
out of our site as well. Right, or a public easement, but regardless, for folks to be able to use.
my point to that was, I was just curious of, how much, between what you guys are giving up to help meet the borough's needs, / what we are expecting from.
I think I understand the question
Yeah.
is that what's the square footage of the road itself? It's
Yes,
greater than 6,000 square feet.
but at the same time.
It's greater than 6,000 feet, ours is much greater than that
Yes,
though.
compared to.
Correct.
And you're not actually taking the road, it would be shared, they'd still use it. It probably gets widened, so it's a gray answer.
Right. But
It's a
also-
beneficial answer, I mean, it benefits everything, it just.
But there's also the road that, or the area that they're giving up to put the road in, which is also another much greater than
About
6,000.
the railroad crossing, did you get that worked out? Cause remember there was an issue, they wanted gates and all this kind of stuff there?
Well, again, correct me if I'm right or wrong, as far as this goes. Everything that I reached out and talked to, no one ever told me that was not a possibility. And when I tried to reach out to Conrail to find that out, there was very minimum information given based upon what they thought or think that the truck traffic that's going across that right now compared to what would be going across that. So again, not tying these guys up, that would be something that we need to talk to with Conrail, but my understanding is that it would not affect that because of what they think the amount of traffic that's going in already
Right.
to that, so. Again, separate from them, it would have to
I mean,
be,
there's no signals or anything there now, there's nothing.
yeah.
We've offered,
Four trains
we've
a day
offered,
max.
and have done a traffic study of what that intersection improvement could look like. And we're doing some estimating so that the borough is informed about what those improvements might look like on our neighboring site. Whatever kind of information you need to gather, we're trying to create. But, again, it would be even a year and a half probably before we even had anyone in these buildings. We hope that by building this infrastructure, maybe starting a fund towards improvements, that would give you some time to sort out what your options are. That's all we can control.
Yeah.
And I did think that by moving the parking lot, you end up with
It's a much
pretty easy
cleaner
access
layout,
to,
it's much cleaner layout.
if you want your park access, we think that can work.
It's a better it's
Yeah,
a better
it's much-
access for the park too, because especially if the other access gets built,
Yeah, we lost
You know,
6,000.
people are gonna be coming in to fill it.
Well, if they gave up, it's the 6,000 that they gave up, that's the road, right?
No, so since, based on this layout,
They moved the building.
we essentially lost 6,000 square
6,000
feet of
square
building
feet of
area.
building, the actual building
That's
itself.
what I'm asking.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't wanna whine about it because, listen, we need to work together, so we didn't have anything, right? But our plan is reduced by some trailer parking. Yeah, we have less ability to isolate one building from the other for security, that we'll weed out some users. The building shrunk a little bit, so there's an acceptable amount of pain on the plan reduction
But
in a few areas.
I'm just thinking that somebody really did their homework on this, it really, to me, it really looks like it's 100% better plan.
These are the guys right here,
Yeah.
engineers and traffic folks, and
I mean,
working with the borough professionals though.
I mean, if you could get that access off of 291, it would be.
And when you look at the
Perfect.
the area just associated with the easement of the roadway, you're upwards of 80 to 90,000 square feet, so almost 2 acres.
Was it considered, just out of curiosity, I mean, you don't need to change it, but I'm just wondering if it was considered, so, I guess it would be the south end of the smaller building, the Seville side, that be a one-way for the trucks and then they can go out?
Well,
One?
You know,
So
trucks
you
will make a turn in between the buildings and then go out the same way they came in.
Yeah,
They're not gonna be able to swing around the west side of the buildings.
Well,
They're
I'm
not gonna be
asking,
able to come out here.
that's what I'm asking, if it was considered.
They wanna try to isolate the truck traffic from the vehicles, from the regular passenger.
Yeah, we wanna try to get all the truck
Right,
traffic
we
to come
didn't,
across.
we didn't consider that because we wanted to keep them separate, keep all the passenger vehicles and any vehicles potentially going to the marina separate from all the truck traffic.
That's what I'm saying, it's a much cleaner layout.
Especially if you consider the possible marina use later too,
Right.
then you don't have
Much
that conflict.
cleaner layout.
If you had a guard or a checkpoint, it would make the, in and out, same point, I think makes sense for most users, keeping it isolated from the car traffic, I think. Yeah.
I just think the borough also needs to actively pursue this, getting this other entrance way. I mean, I think the borough should do whatever it takes to get that done. Cause it's gonna be a benefit for you guys, it's gonna be a benefit for, Foxfield, it's gonna be a benefit for the borough. So they're all, if they can gain that, everybody's gonna be a winner.
Bob, just to, I don't know if you actually took note of the, when the traffic actually leaves out of the property, did you see how they put a turn lane, like a merge lane in there?
Yeah, to go east, right? I think this is as good as it gets. I really do.
Any other questions?
I'm just 100% for trying to get that easement and eliminate some of this traffic that's too long. The internal traffic, the vehicle, the passenger vehicle traffic coming in there, and then also, if they can't get that, the truck traffic, it's just gonna be a horrendous intersection down there.
Alright, just to go over a couple of things, as far as the last meeting we were here, we were having a lot of talk about the water level and stuff like that. I'm sure a lot of that was just taken care of with that.
Yeah, obviously, this plan will have to be re-reviewed by the engineers, but they have seen it, your engineers, and the buildings are sufficiently set back from the mean low
Right,
water line.
mean low water lines, the setback requirements, when we met with, township staff, borough staff, I guess it was last week or a week and a half ago, we went through that entire review letter and made sure we were all on the same page in terms of how we were addressing both the setbacks as well as the floodplain requirements.
Yeah, and I mean, that's one of the reasons also that the buildings shifted, to make sure that we could.
And what are we classifying the building as?
It's a light industrial building, it could be used for distribution, it could be used for, and the borough has issued, the council has issued an opinion that is distribution is a permitted use in this area, so. But
Distribution is permitted?
is permitted in the light industrial district, as well as warehouse, or any, right now, we don't have the end user, as you know. They are actively marketing, trying to get folks in, but it's being designed so that, at least the shell of it could accommodate any of the uses that are permitted within the district.
Since we were here last, we have crystal clarity on that opinion.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Guys, just so you know, Alliance met with Catania and Borough members on August 12th and on September 10th. Was what they were referencing, and the issue of what it was zoned for and what is being proposed, it was allowable, and both Sandy Liberatory, and I did speak to the zoning solicitor, but provided that we are of the opinion that it is allowable use under our zoning code. Just to try to clear that up.
Alice, you were there? For
I
that?
was there on the 12th, and then Sandy was there on the 10th, but I had addressed the zoning issue on August 12th.
Is there any other questions?
Yeah, I got one more.
Can you just try and speak up, Mike, for the camera
Do you
people? are
guys
saying
have a
they can't hear you.
number in mind of this contribution that you're making to the council?
I don't, guess what a reasonable number is, I won't. One of the things that we offered to do, and I think we're a day or two away from it, was to try to help them have some context for what the improvements could ultimately be. We ran a traffic plan of what those improvements might look like, Mark's office is running just an estimate, and, so that'll help provide context of what the cost might be, and then we're gonna
Is
have
there
a
an idea
conversation.
of a range between, say,
Definitely more than $10. You know, if it was millions of dollars, we would just buy the land ourselves and go deal with the neighbors, so, yeah, I like to think, I don't know that the borough has the same leverage on Penn terminals and us and our neighbor to the north, but given that our site is perhaps gonna be a bit of a thoroughfare and the concessions that we're making, I would hope that we're making a meaningful contribution towards what could be the end improvements, but not all of them. That would be a hope, so, but I don't know what that number is.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna depend, the borough's gonna have to determine what the cost of the acquisition as well as the cost of construction is, and then we'll work out something with it.
I'm trying to start on the 50-yard line because I'm getting immense pressure on time as the world changes. And you know, there's a cost to building this road through here. This whole section of road essentially would become a queue for Penn terminals on our land.
that's gonna be on your end.
It's on our land, and so, you know, that should be, you know, and I think there's probably some cash out there that needs to go because it needs to happen and you guys need to fund it, but, I hope it's all considered part of a contribution by us. We're happy to find some creative structure.
I appreciate
Yeah.
it. I think this is the best plan so far.
Any other questions?
I mean, is the borough, I'm sure the borough's in favor of this. I mean, is the borough gonna actively pursue this to try to gain this, you know, acquire that?
So I'll just reiterate what your role is tonight. So basically you guys can give a recommendation whether you want to approve the plan or not. Regardless, the plan will go in front of the council of the borough and they'll make their own decision. But again, where they're leading isn't something you should worry about. It's whether you as the planning commission board want to approve it. And we just don't want to have any influence from any members on your decision, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Can I speak to what we hope the process would be?
Well, I was just gonna say, we're requesting that you would see fit to recommend that we take this plan to the borough council at the next step. And it'll have to be reviewed, obviously, by your professionals and all, but that if you recommend this plan, with the concerns that you have, certainly, if you could recommend it, let us go forward to borough council at this time.
And we're gonna take about 10 minutes just to talk to the solicitor real quick. Say
Sure.
questions or concerns. So give us about 10 minutes, and meanwhile, if there's any other questions, when we come back, please feel free to ask.
Well, thank you very much, appreciate it.
Oh, sure.
I'm sorry for not freezing. That's what I thought. I know you're feeling
requested
anything,
a
ask
waiver,
me
right,
about that.
for preliminary slash final, yeah, so ultimately.
And that
Ultimately,
decision would
that's-
be council's?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Took you guys so long to get it right. Yeah, you don't want to question. We should start with you.
What happened to the genius? The genius thing's gone already.
I start laying out roads and access points. You do square footage.
Yeah, I got like a whole highway system with all
That's
this
a major, CYA backpedal right there, dude.
You know, we do it as long as
You
I'm
just-
50
you
years
just-
old, man.
This
is my first day.
That's so bad. Well, you know, the key to this thing is, talking to the council, that, guy next door got here on board. And if he needs, if he wants to add square footage, which I assume he does, what's his whole project, he has.
120 counts.
So that means by using the same entrance, he's subject to the scrutiny, is that the deal?
Or is it still on?
Or you know what, I have that app.
See?
Yeah. Yeah, that's additional traffic. It's up to them. Yeah, just not get phone call.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were here.
So I just faxed you more. Yeah, there you are. It's really
No amount of insurance would be acceptable. Do a whole memo on how they calculate it. But the percentages depend on it, so it's what you can do. Anytime you're in conflict with this throughout the state, somebody's going to break it.
First, a couple things is unknown.
That's the one. It's everything else. That.
So do you think you'll get it?
No, they were working on future quantities today. They do, but it's not.
I had this conversation with Jeff. He's like, I don't know if they'll let you do it. They told me that they didn't want to. I could argue that the access they have now might have been.
Oh man, I gotta sit down. Oh, my legs would kill me. Yeah, my knees all swollen up for some reason. Yeah, you're on your legs too. That's what I got, arthritis in both knees.
My one knee, both hips, my back. Borough. Yeah, went in between the tires and the dump body of the dump truck. Walked out. No scratches, no scrapes, no blood, nothing. The car's all mangled up in there. I was making it back out and ripped the cable out of the truck. So I just had this, I hooked it to the frame of the truck and just yanked it back out that way. I was a little pissed, but insurance company paid for that.
Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah.
No, we're just trying to,
Yeah, 100%. Where we go?
The street behind me where I live is Lexington, and the one behind it is Concord. I had to explain to my wife the significance of like.
My recommendation is this.
So Mike's like,
I don't. Yeah, I do, yes. I'm very happy.
Yes.
Right.
But Mike's.
Right, that's
But
why I
Mike-
don't approve it. That's why I don't approve it, I do approve this.
Mike's concern is that if that doesn't happen, that's what his concern is.
If you approve it and it doesn't happen, then, it's just not gonna happen.
So, call me back to order from recess with a couple legal questions we had for Alice, the solicitor. If you guys want to litigate more out here in public, we can, or I can entertain a motion on the floor as far as the plans. It's up to you guys.
Well, I would make a motion to approve this as it is, and have a guarantee that that happens of some sort. This plan here, I personally do not recommend approving until that situation with the access has been, settled.
So Mike has a motion on the floor, not for the plans that were presented, but for what the alternative road is. So, is that correct, Mike?
Yeah, I'll make a recommendation that this gets approved contingent that this, access road is also in the plans.
Bob?
I think they would like to get started on this plan, the one that they submitted, not the original plan, the revised plan. And I know they're going to pursue this, the borough and them are going to pursue this other access road for truck traffic to go out to 291. So I'd like to make a motion that it be approved, contingent on them making their best effort to obtain that.
All right, so there's two motions on the floor. We have to vote on the first one first. So I need a roll call as far as what Mike's proposal was first. Bob? No. So no's have it for the first. Bob, now you can proceed if you have.
Okay, I'll make a motion that would be that this plan be approved as presented with the understanding or the notation that Alliance and the borough pursue the access road from 291.
To the best of their ability.
To the best of their ability. If it can't happen, then do something with the intersection at Second and Seville. I'll make that motion.
Motion on the floor. Mike?
Didn't sound too much different than what I asked for. That's why I'm confused.
Well, this, Bob's is giving them the okay to move forward with these plans with the motion that they will continue to support the borough. Your original motion sounded as in you were not given approval at all until we had it in writing that this road will be in play.
Right. Yes, I'm a no.
All right, and I will say yes. So, motion will carry to recommend to the borough the plans that were presented tonight as far as the prints. Again, with a high concern from the commission that the borough continue working with Alliance on working on the easement from 291 by the money. Correct?
Yes. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Any other questions or concerns?
Thank you again for your attention and your hard work.
Thank you.
I wanted to say to you guys do excellent work, and I